Good afternoon. Welcome to Real Talk Live with wArnette D. Love. And today we have a special edition show for you. And what I'm going to do is allow my guests to introduce themselves. And then we're going to go into the topic and concern that they have, okay? I thank you guys for joining us during this period of the day. All right.
Hi, my name is Jasmine. I'm Emmett's girlfriend.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Karen Roscoe / Newton. I'm Emmett's older sister.
I'm Sarah Madison, and I'm one of Emmett's, my brother, I'm one of his little sisters.
And I'm Donnell Blunt, and I've had the privilege to work with Emmett's family as his paralegal.
All right, I think everybody wants to know who is Emmett. Y'all gonna tell us who's gonna tell us who Emmett is?
Emmett is my brother, Emmett George Roscoe Jr. We know him as EJ, that's what we call him. He's a father, a son, family, friend, and right now he is currently incarcerated.
Okay. Now, do you want to talk about his case? What are we going to talk about today?
Right now, we're here to try to get out awareness about my brother, first and foremost, to humanize him, bring him back. We want to bring him home. So we're here to talk about who he is, bring light to his case, some things, some injustices and miscarriages of his case that we'd like to bring to light in hopes of bringing him home. He's been serving 15 years of almost 100-year sentence.
Okay.
So
let's talk about your brother. Let's talk about EJ. Yes. Let's just talk about him first, and then we'll get into his case, okay? All right, Jasmine, I'm pointing this at you now. Tell me about your boyfriend, right?
He's a kind, sweet person. He's very loving. He's a great father, a great brother. He's just overall a great person.
So y'all have kids together?
No.
He has a daughter?
Yes,
okay, Jasmine. All right. Tell us about it.
Well, he's actually my best friend, someone I've been holding down since he's been locked up. We talk about a lot of things as far as his mental things. He's been going through a lot in the prison system. He's very eager to get out himself and do what's right to get out, to be with the family. He's missed a lot of time with his family, and we just feel his need and it's time to get some justice for his case.
Okay. All right. Big sister, right?
Little sister.
Little
I'm
sister.
Big sister, yeah.
My brother, he's stubborn.
Mm-hmm. Very.
Very stubborn, but extremely intelligent.
Yes.
He's very vocal. I don't know, he makes you want to, even if you don't want to, you want to lay down and rest, he's like, no, we got to fight. And he motivates me to keep working on it and keep doing it. And the biggest thing about my brother is he went in not knowing how to read and write, and I'm proud of him because...
He went to prison?
Yes, ma'am. He couldn't really read or write, and if you see his handwriting, the way he speaks, the way he communicates and litigates, he's taught himself how to do that.
So is he from Portsmouth?
We're from Chesapeake.
Yeah, from Chesapeake. Yes. And so, how old was he when he went in?
17. He turned 18.
Yeah.
Okay. And
he was 20 at the time.
And you say he's been there for 15 years? 15 years?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to go to Donnell. Donnell, tell us about this case.
Initially, Jasmine reached out to me December of 2022. I just come home myself. And the manner in which she spoke about this young man, I was like, wow, I don't know who he is, but I have to help him. I have to do something to help this guy. Mm-hmm. When a woman out here speaks highly of a man's character who's incarcerated, it can only be his character. He doesn't have things to give her. He doesn't have, there's no physical relationship. Mm-hmm. So it has to be something about his character that speaks volumes. So based on how she described him, I wanted to help. And when I spoke to him the first time, this guy was anti-being helped. He
really?
He wanted to do it himself. Well, she told me that he was a litigator. Now, when we first spoke, he didn't know who I was. Mm-hmm. So he said when he went to Red Onion State Prison, they told him that they reminded him of a guy named Donnell Blunt. And I was flattered.
I know you were.
I was battling. When I asked him why did they say that, he said because he becomes such a good litigator. This guy had begun to establish some of the injustices that he been subject to, the abuses he'd been subject to while in the notorious Reagan State Prison. That made me respect him because I knew that based on what they said that this young man was a functionally illiterate. Not that anymore. And when I tell you he has a hunger to learn, it's infectious. So being that that's the way, and I didn't go in with reading and writing problems, but I did go in with a limited number of books under my belt. He's well read. He's very well spoken. He's very articulate. And when I say this young brother, now I want everyone to understand this. He didn't ask me to help. He wants to do this on his own. It's these women right here that say, listen, he can't do it all on his own. So we're going to kind of overstep a little bit here, and we're going to make sure that he gets the assistance that he needs. So he's still fighting in his mind by himself. So we're out here kind of doing this without his knowledge. This bespeaks to the amount of confidence he has in himself, but he doesn't want to burden his family, so to be clear as to why he fights the way he does for himself.
Right.
So this is why I have come to love this young brother.
Were you?
I just like him. I love him.
So you never met him?
No.
But were y'all in the prison at the same time?
No. Well, we were in the system at the same time, but we weren't on the same places at the same time.
Oh, okay.
He went to some of the places I've been after I left those places.
Okay, so now who want to talk about why he's in prison? I mean, it's public information. I'm just not getting ready to go. I'm not going to search for it, but if you can tell us why he's in prison.
I'll start off and say why he's in prison. There's a few reasons why he's in prison.
Okay.
He's in prison because he was convicted of a crime.
Okay.
He was convicted of a crime, and I strongly feel that he does not belong where he is.
Okay.
So the simple answer is his charges, if that's what your is that your question?
Yes.
His charges, malicious wounding, 2 counts of malicious wounding, and his other charges involve gun charges. I think that's the extent of it. I believe it was what?
Yes.
And was this a habitual thing? Because I'm trying to figure out why he got 100 years.
It was not a habitual thing. No. He was young.
The case was just mishandled. Very.
Okay.
So that's how he got 100 years plus.
Okay. So your goal, and did this take place in Chesapeake or in Portsmouth? It took place in Portsmouth. So your goal is to basically get his case reviewed. At least, I mean, because we got to take baby steps, and I say we because, I'm former law enforcement. And so basically they need to look at his case again first,
yes.
And then see where they can find some errors in the system or show that he wasn't. And I'm not, by no means am I any kind of law person. I was the one putting the handcuffs on, okay? And I'm trying to figure this out and help y'all explain what you're looking for and what you need help with. You need help trying to get your brother's case reviewed with a non-biased eye.
Yes, ma'am. If this case would have went to trial today, in today's age, he would not be sitting behind bars. Okay.
So now, where are we with that, Donnell?
Let me back it up a little bit here.
Okay.
Sarah's a former combat, having served in combat. She's a Marine.
Okay, comrade.
You know I'm a Marine. We know you're Army, so we're vets here. She has an eye for the particular. Jasmine has an eye for the particular. Karen has an eye for the particular. We have dissected this case. This is not for people sitting here and say, hey, we generally want some help. This guy should not be in prison. No. This is a fact-driven campaign. Because the one thing I said was I would never get pie thrown in my face. I work too hard to build my reputation. But they're the same way. They're not going to allow their brother, simply because he's their brother, to have them to put their name on the line. They have dissected this case maybe a little more than I have because it's more intimate for them. So let's start with one of the things that happened in the case. We know that when you invoke your right to an attorney, all questioning stops. This young man did this. He emphatically invoked the right to an attorney. Yet they claim that, after he invoked, because he had stuff in different cities. Every city walked away after he invoked his right for an attorney. Horseman persisted. And we know that back then, the interrogation tactics back then weren't ideal.
Okay.
We are aware of cases like out of Norfolk with Detective Ford out there and the interrogation tactics he used, keeping a person in a room that really had no experience with law enforcement. For how long was he kept in interrogation?
Is this the person that interviewed him?
Yes, this was it wasn't Ford, but that's just a known tactic.
Oh, okay.
So it was over 12
They
hours.
kept him in a cold room for over 12 hours. This young man had just turned 18 years old. He has no experience with law enforcement. So this is not a guy that's savvy in how to get around the system and the run game. He's not that guy. So this guy was kept in a room for 12 hours. He asked for an attorney. He somehow, by the grace of God, he knew to ask for that, if nothing else. And the interrogation continued. They badgered this kid. They pressured this kid until he would say about anything to get out of that room. Known tactic. The thing about this that eats me alive to this day is that they claim that this interview was recorded. Where's the interview tape, y'all?
Doesn't exist.
Nowhere
can't
to
find
be
it.
found.
No one can find this.
They said that's blank.
They said it's blank. They said they would send blank DVDs out to the point where I have actually written his former trial attorney, and I'm like, hey, you told us that you're going to send a DVD out that would show this interview, and she hasn't done it. She sent a blank DVD out.
Seven of them.
7. So you would think a trial lawyer who done her due diligence would have reviewed whatever it was she was sending out of her office to make sure it was in fact the item that was meant to be sent to her client or his representative.
So have y'all heard from her? I mean, you let her know that was blank, or what happened?
Yes.
I spoke with her multiple times, let her know, like, you know, the DVD was blank. They tried to review it, different cameras, video cameras at the prison. They let him know, like, hey, this video doesn't work. Basically, I called her and I told her, like, I went everywhere. I went to file FOIA for the video. I've been everywhere. I went down to the courts. It was never filed. It was never turned into integrity, inside. And she basically was like, well, I don't know where the DVD is. She admitted to me she doesn't know where the DVD is. Nobody has the DVD.
And who is the trial lawyer?
Leanne
Berwitz.
Okay.
Now watch this here, and it goes a little further than that. So after having not been able to produce this DVD of this confession or these statements that this gentleman made, this sticks in my teeth right here. What they did was they said, oh, well, we took what we had of the audio tape of this interview with this gentleman. We couldn't understand everything on the tape, so we made a transcript. We went in and we heard what he said, and then we wrote it down ourselves. They took this young man to trial with this. A videotape that they said existed, that they could not understand what he was saying. So they, in turn, made a transcript where they inserted things that they believed was asked and answers given. This was utilized to convict this young man. It went a step further. There was the identification. Let's talk about this identification.
So, not only was my brother not picked out of a lineup successfully, but even during the trial, the witnesses were asked to identify the man that shot them. And they said it was a tall, dark-skinned man.
Yes.
My brother is my height, and he's lighter than all of us. And he has curly hair. My mom, she's white, and my dad is black. When you look at the six pack, there's 2 of them.
Okay.
The front of it is all the faces are of black men, and they're blacked out to the point where you can't visually see distinctive features on their faces. They're so blacked out. Turn the page to the next 6 pack. Every face is the same except Emmett's face. His face is illuminated. And even with this, they still were not able to pick him out in the courtroom, still stating the man that shot me was tall and dark skinned. Wow. And it went on the entire. No one caught it, corrected it, and it went on that way.
Okay. Jasmine.
Like when they asked who shot him, they said it was a tall, dark-skinned person. They said, like, you know, the brothers that was in the case. They never, like they said, they never corrected it. It went on through the whole trial. So they said, so you're telling me the person, Emmett Roscoe, is tall and dark-skinned? They said yes, and it went like nobody never corrected.
So nobody really looked at his skin and said this dude is not tall and dark.
The second part to that is when they asked, how did you know who it was that shot you? Right. And the witness responded, the prosecuting attorney told me. Yes. And this is all in black and white paperwork that we have all the paperwork. We can't, it's not like we made it up. It's right here, black and white. Like you said, it's public information. And over 15 years, we've been with a magnifying glass and highlighters going through these papers because they're that vital.
Okay.
It's that vital.
So where are you now? What's going on?
Here's where we are. The other day we were at the house and we were having a meeting about the case and how to proceed. So we're in the process of filing two things: a motion to vacate, and I'm filing a writ of a petition for absolute clemency to the governor of Virginia. Let's go to the motion to vacate. There takes a lot to shock me because I do so much in this criminal justice system. It takes a lot to shock me. And what shocked me the most was the document they showed me the other day. You know how I do assist with Down syndrome. So any mental health issues, I take them very personal. We have an obligation to protect those who have mental defects. As bright and as intelligent as this young man is, he has been diagnosed with a clinical finding of paranoid schizophrenia. He's functioning, but he still has the diagnosis. His attorney wrote a letter to a doctor after he'd been convicted and after his pre-sentence report had been done. And she said to the doctor, I want to pull that document out because I want to make sure I read this directly with Ms. Barrett's words.
Okay.
I don't normally go on public forums and attack attorneys. I don't have anything to gain. I have to bridge gaps in this arena that I work in. But this is one time where I feel that she should have been disbarred. She should have been punished by the state bar.
Now, who is this attorney?
Barrowitz, the same. Deanne Barrowitz, because this right here, this was criminal. It was criminal, and she did not take any corrective actions once she learned of this. So when I saw this the other day, it shocked me to my core. Here it is right here. And this was after his conviction, on August 2nd, 2010, she wrote a letter here from Leanne Barrowitz addressed to Dr. Jennifer Rasmussen, Forensic Psychology Association, and it's about Emmett's case. And she says in relevant part, "Dear Dr. Rasmussen, I represent Mr. Roscoe on the above styled matters. On May the 26th, 2010, Mr. Roscoe pled not guilty to the robbery and use of a firearm charge. The jury found him guilty of both charges, and the case was set for pre-sentencing on July the 20th, 2010. In the pre-sentence report that was prepared for the hearing, I learned for the first time that Mr. Roscoe, while incarcerated in the Portsmouth City Jail on the above charges, had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia." And that's right. And reported at times to be hearing voices that tell him to hurt himself and others. A clinical diagnosis. They are trained to catch those who are trying to beat the system. You know how it is at the jail. When guys are trying to play the system and game the system. This young man was not even trying to be diagnosed as having this, to be clear. And yet this was the diagnosis they came away with. This young man was never determined to have been sane at the time of the alleged offenses, nor mentally competent to stand trial. His lawyer did not know until his pre-sentence report had been done, when she read it, that he had been clinically found at the jail waiting trial, that he had suffered from hearing voices and suffered from paranoid schizophrenia. How did he participate in his own defense? The law says you have to be able to willingly and intelligently participate in your own defense. How could he have done so when he was hearing voices telling him to harm himself and he had this diagnosis? Was he medicated? The record is silent on that. What steps did she take afterwards? Did she file a motion to vacate? No, she did not. She did nothing.
So this is what you're basing your motion to vacate
yes,
on?
Ma'am.
His status, his mental capacity at the time.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, babe.
Really quickly, I also wanted to just point out a few key factors. Any law student, or we watch true crime at home, right? Oh, I know what happened. Right. You know, it doesn't take a lot to know that when you have a case that involves guns and witnesses, and dates and times and all these things, you want to do your job to make sure that not only do you get the right person, but the person that you're putting away, you basically present a strong case. In this case, we have the list of the evidence that was submitted, and we also have the witness list. We have a lot of information, and none of the witnesses that would have corroborated or benefited my brother's case were ever called. You know, some of them are sitting right here.
And he didn't have an attorney, right? Because
he may as well not have had one.
Gotcha.
He didn't even know. He actually at one point in time asked the judge, "Can we do something about this? I've never met this woman. I don't even know who this woman is." And they proceeded. They continued to go on with this show. There were no fingerprints, gunshot residue, nothing was tested, DNA, even found cartridges cases at the crime scene, and I would think that maybe we could go ahead and at least test them and run them and say, hey, we can in fact put this weapon in this man's hand and have video footage, witnesses, but they did none of that.
So how did they even get him there? I mean, how, you know what I'm saying? If they didn't have any evidence, like you're saying, how did he even get there?
It's all of a coerced confession. If they don't have, and that's literally all. People might think, oh well, like like it has to be something else. It's literally nothing else. No evidence, no DNA, no segregation tape. All because he said I did it after being in the room for 12 hours at a young age.
And I quote, they had my brother in there, and in his words, it was, I want a lawyer. I think I counted 17 times in the transcript. Eventually, after time lapsed, one of the questioning interrogators or officers said, "This is not New York. And there's no fucking lawyer coming through that door for you. You tell us what we want to hear. You can call your mama, and we'll release you."
That was on the transcript.
You can.
This is what's on the tape that he's claimed from day one. But they won't give us a tape.
There's a tape. And so
this young man has begged them to turn the tape over. The other interview, he's saying they made this up.
And at the end of it, he said, "Fuck it. What you want me to say? I did it."
Yeah.
And the details of his covert confession don't even anybody can read it. Don't match the actual case, the dates, the times. He can't tell you because he said we wasn't there.
So who do you have helping you with this?
Right here.
Just the four of you.
Let me say this one more time. This one thing, because people say, well, why would someone admit or just say, oh yeah, I did it? I'm going to use one case to illustrate it. The Norfolk Four, the 4 sailors who have been trained with counter-interrogation tactics. These men have been trained to resist being having information extracted from them. They're naval personnel. We're vets. We know the training. Yet they're succumbed to the interrogation tactics over there in Norfolk, being put in similar situations, a cold room, being battered for hours at a time, and whether they admitted to a heinous crime of raping and murdering a Navy SEAL's wife. They never touched her. They weren't there. They didn't do it. The guy who did it, who DNA was later found in her, well, they knew, they just didn't turn it over, who DNA was found in her, and he had a long record of raping women and had committed another murder. He said he did it by himself. So how did they get these 4 sailors to admit the rape and killing someone they never touched, and they weren't there?
Right.
So we know that happens.
Yeah, it happens.
And it happens frequently.
I was told that a lot of inmates don't have family support like we have. They don't have the money, the time, and the resources to do the legwork that it takes to help get cases like this brought to light.
Right.
My brother has gone through a lot. My mother just passed maybe 3 months ago. Yeah. And we are fearless. We found a way to get him a video visitation with my mom. We find ways to get him taken care of while he's inside. He's not in there killing people. He didn't kill anyone. Actually, no life was taken.
Okay.
No life was taken for the crime that he is actually pulling time for. And I believe it's a total of 140 years altogether. And I believe that it's time for my brother to come home. I'm asking them to do something very simple. Take a second look at that case. Look at the details of the case. And if we look at the case and we see that there was prosecutorial misconduct, or maybe there was ineffective counsel, or maybe he falls under the bracket of new information being found, there is some category that he falls in. I know that to be true. And if you did your job, if you did your due diligence, why can't you just look at it? I'm a constituent. I'm also a civilian. So is she. So we have families, and I served this country, and these feet stepped grounds on that in Afghanistan. I've seen war. I've seen death. I've seen crazy things. I came back to my country, and I'm asking for help. I'm asking for my justice system to work because I've believed in it my entire life. Ask my sisters and friends. So we want to help and we want to bring this young man home.
Okay. Would you like to say anything?
No, ma'am.
How about you, Jess?
No.
Donnell, you want to wrap this up before I?
Yes. I want to get some thank yous. I want to thank these young women for being fearless, like she said. From having been behind the wall and having had to fight myself back out. I compartmentalize my feelings a lot. I keep my feelings to myself. I don't let myself get emotionally involved in a lot of stuff. But when you see the destruction that happens when you get overzealous police officers, overzealous prosecutors, people say, how do I make it out here? I'm doing good financially, my business is thriving. They say, how do I make it? Because I compartmentalize. And I don't let my tears be seen, and I think that does a disservice to the guys who are behind those walls who should not be there. When I see a young man get sentenced to 140 plus years behind the prison wall for something I believe my soul he didn't do, I put my reputation on it. My personal reputation, the reputation of my business. I stand with these people in solidarity because I believe in this case. And I went on to see Miss Morrison last summer. Me, Jasmine, and my ex-wife, and Miss Morrison was kind enough to digitize this entire file to make it easier for us. We have reached out to the district attorney's office, and we know that the case is being reviewed. We want everyone who hears us today to picture this as your brother, your friend, your boyfriend, someone that you love and care about, and the system did them wrong. Their mother, she called me anytime, day or night, and I swore to her before she died, I'm going to do everything in my power to bring your son home by the grace of God. And I bust my ass because they bust their ass. And this young man should be home. This is one of the cases where they got it wrong. Somebody has to fix this. So that's my plea to the people, fix this.
Okay.
Like, we're begging at this point. Like anybody, they know it's wrong. We know it's wrong. We just, leave it.
And thank you, cousin.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Listen, first let me say this. Your brother is blessed to have you all. Like I said, I did over 15 years in law enforcement. And you're right. There's so many inmates there that they're just left by themselves. Nobody outside of those walls fighting for them. So he's certainly blessed. And even though, let me do this disclaimer, that the things that were said here today is not a reflection of Real Talk Live with wArnette D. Love, I do understand. Not only was my cousin in prison, my father was in prison for most of my young life, okay? I was too young to fight for him or try to, do anything. And so I do understand that absence, okay? And I just want to encourage y'all to keep fighting to your last breath. Keep knocking on doors, keep asking, keep being respectful, because you get more with kindness. You're gonna get frustrated, but don't let that deter you, because he needs you. I'll tell y'all later off camera about my drive, but it hit me when you said that he was didn't know how to read or write, because I'm striving to help our kids now. That's my goal. So, and I'll talk about that when I interview Donnell. But the thing is, I want people to hear them, hear their pain, hear their cry for help, And if there's anything that you can do to add to their mission of bringing their brother home, you can contact me and I'll get in touch with Donnell. We just want to make sure that everybody is here. This is a platform for the people, okay? I get up here and I joke a lot and I mess around, but when it's time for business, we stand on it. And this right here is business. Too many times this type of thing is happening to our kids because, yes, unfortunately, most of them don't have a backing, and they, as long as they can get someone. So we want to make sure that if we are able to assist them with this case, we do. I want to make sure I keep up with you guys, so I'll be checking in with Donnell to see where we at.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome, because this is very important. And like I said, your brother's very blessed to have you girls. I mean, in his corner. I've seen too many people just left. And you won't let him give up. And I appreciate that. I really do. Thanks down there for bringing him, because I was like, man, down there I lost his mind. But I'm so glad that we made time for y'all today.
Thank you.
And you can definitely come back and update us when things start looking up, because I do believe that you're going to get the help that you need. Thank you guys for joining Real Talk Live with W'Arnette D. Love, and we're going to have another interview for you in just a few minutes. God bless you. Remember, he loves you. I love you. Make sure you love yourself, and you can go on and love someone else.